We're going to cover sports today, and who better to have on than the editor of ESPN the magazine, Gary Belsky. Gary, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. So, ESPN the magazine has been in existence for, what, 9 years?
It'll be 10 years in March of 2008.
And how have you guys been doing?
We started roughly around the same time as O magazine, Oprah's magazine, and also Maxim. Those are three magazines that started roughly at the same time that are considered among the strongest magazine launches in history, and we are continuing to be one of the strongest magazine launches in history. So we're actually doing really well.
How did you exceed
expectations? Is that going to bother you, by the way?
No, wondering. We can get over. We're not that professional.
Okay.
Oh, okay. How did you exceed expectations?
I think people thought it was going to take us a long time. We had a very formidable competitor in Sports Illustrated, and I think people thought it was going to take us a long time to become profitable, if we were ever going to become profitable, and a long time to increase our circulation if we were ever going to do it. And in fact, we surpassed both those measures. We started out at 250,000 subscribers, and we're now at 2 million. And we broke even, I think, 2 years ahead of schedule, and we now make a considerable amount of money. So by any measure, we are as successful as you can be if you're launching a magazine.
And you talk about Sports Illustrated. For the subscriber to Sports Illustrated, were you getting the person who's going to get an additional magazine, or were you actually taking away, in many ways, a former SI subscriber and who's now instead an ESPN magazine subscriber? How does business work?
I think the answer is C. You gave A and B, in that we actually were targeting an entire new generation of readers. And I think a lot of those readers wouldn't necessarily have gone to any other of the other magazines out there. I don't want to speak specifically about one magazine or another, but essentially we were targeting a new generation of readers that was influenced by video games and by MTV and by the web. And so we were actually getting those people who were not going to subscribe to any other magazine. And so we created new magazine readers by being a magazine that was very much geared towards people your own age.
And how you specifically differentiated yourself from it?
Oh, I mean, the magazine is much bigger in size than almost any other magazine in the country. We basically spend a lot of time looking forward. Most sports magazines traditionally have looked back, meaning what happened this past weekend, what happened this past week. We, in fact, said, you know what happened this past week. You went to ESPN.com and you looked at it, or you saw it on ESPN, or you listened to it on ESPN radio. We are going to prepare you for the coming week, or for the coming month, or for the coming days. And so our whole idea, the first word on our cover, the only word on our first cover was next. We are all about, have always been about, always will be about what's coming, not what's happened.
But CNN, correct me if I'm wrong, joined with SI, correct? CNNSI.com?
Yeah, at the time they did, yeah, it didn't really work out. They actually created CNNSI earlier than the magazine started, and the magazine that we started survived. CNNSI really didn't in any meaningful way on TV.
And you talk about...
CNNSI is a very viable web presence, obviously.
Right, and you talking about tomorrow when it comes to sports issues, not looking at back. Have you integrated when it comes to tomorrow with ESPN.com? Are you all part of the ESPN Insider, the same thing that's in the magazine? It's on the Insider of ESPN. How does it work with?
Yeah, in fact, we're very much wedded to ESPN Insider. If you subscribe to one, you actually get access to the other, meaning if you're an Insider subscriber, you will get access to the magazine and vice versa. Obviously, we don't try to repeat a lot of content, but it's very much the same inside the game kind of information. The magazine is sort of known for its relationship with fans and its relationship with players. And so we're very much inside the game, probably more than any other magazine out there. And so a lot of the whole insider ethic on the web is very much reflected in the magazine and vice versa. So, and in general, ESPN, probably more than any other media property in the world, has an incredible level of integration between the different platforms. In other words, if you look at ESPN, the networks, and if you look at the website, and if you look at the magazine and radio, and 360, broadband, and HDTV, there's an incredible amount of synergy that goes on between all of these platforms. We do it naturally, quite frankly. There's stuff that we can do that is more thoughtful and deliberative in a very specific way. There's stuff that they do on TV or on the web that's also thoughtful and also deliberative, but is very much about what's going on right now, that needs to be reflected today as opposed to what the magazine does, which is look out over a 2-week period.
How much do you charge for ESPN Insider?
How much we charge for ESPN Insider? I actually don't know.
Because I have friends at school, for example, huge sports fans. Huge sports fans.
Like, you don't mean that they're big people, you mean they're
the
big
giant
fans of sports.
Yeah, like they have no life. Like during January
baseball
season,
they can be shorter, these
they can
people.
be shorter.
They can be small.
Exactly.
And yet still huge sports fans.
Huge sports
I just
fans.
want to be clear.
Correct. Okay. So they refuse to buy ESPN.
It matters.
they refuse to buy ESPN the Insider because I think it's $49.95, $39.95. You think you're losing our generation because you're charging this $50 or $40 fee for ESPN the Insider? Is there any way you can knock down the price and have more advertising, or is it just impossible to make up the advertising for the $50 you bring in?
The truth is, we have about 400,000 subscribers, so a lot of people, to Insider, so a lot of people are buying into it. And more importantly, you just don't get Insider for that subscription. Insider, you get a subscription to the magazine, which is, sort of goes for about $26. So in fact, you're getting 2 for the price of 1.5.
But the New York Times just went off Time Select and is now giving that for free. And in replacement, you see the BlackBerry ad. Why haven't you seen? Why do you think they did it that way, but you guys don't want to do it that way?
Well, I think there are a lot of reasons, but mostly our model, the kind of work and effort that we put into the Insider requires it to sort of be a subscription model, at least for the time being, right? And so the fact of the matter is that demand has been, has justified our pricing. And we actually probably could charge a lot more, but choose not to because we're actually not trying to rip fans off. In fact, we're trying to make it so that it works for us in terms of being able to sort of supply that level of content, but also works for, like you said, the typical 20-year-old, 25-year-old, 30-year-old who may not have that much money to spend on sports media, but wants to spend it wisely, and we think it's a wise bet.
Why is it worth it? What do you get for ESPN Insider?
You just get a variety of access to the writers and columnists and reporters for ESPN who are well known if you read the magazine, and also well known if you watch TV, but they're just providing extra content essentially for Insider. I mean, quite frankly, there's just a level of in-depth analysis and information that I don't think you get anywhere else.
So that includes guys like Buster Olney, Bill Simmons, and those guys?
Yeah, some of that, obviously, we keep some of that is available online generally to anybody who goes to ESPN.com, and some of it is within the walls of Insider.
It seems like the biggest reason why college students get upset is you'll have trade rumors on ESPN Insider, but you don't have access to that unless you pay the $50 because you have this inside details on the trade. But yeah,
that's the biggest reason college.
Absolutely, that's why they love it because you have the insider.
Hold on. I would think it would be like finals or not being able to get the date with the particular girl. But the biggest reason college students get upset is because of something about Insider?
Yeah, because they want to know the trade rumors.
I would think it would be the cost of tuition at major universities. That doesn't get them as upset as...
No, of course. That'd be rational.
So you're saying the single biggest issue for college students today?
Not the single biggest...
you just said the biggest reason why college students get upset, so I didn't know what you meant.
A big issue when it comes to their hindrance...
Words in my life, Alex.
I'm sorry for not being exact.
No apology. I just want to be clear for your viewers/listeners/fans.
Indeed. Okay.
Or your mom and sisters.
Yeah, they're probably my mom and sisters. Probably not.
That could all be the same thing.
Indeed. But for why they will not...
Could be.